All right, welcome to another amazing, spectacular, wonderful episode of the Alumni Podcast. We got our main man here, BK, Brandon Kudo, that is, to all you haters and suckers out there.
Haters. You know some
ain't
haters,
got no haters.
that I don't know about.
Flexing on the haters, if he has any. I don't think he has any at all because he's a really nice guy. I have found the yearbook. I found our yearbook.
New
I think I
segment
got this
on the Alumni Podcast is showing the
first time.
guest photo.
I think I got this for free. I don't know how I got it for free. I forgot the story, but I remember not paying for it. I got BK right here. He's this guy right. You see him?
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
What a classic.
Never
He hasn't
looked
changed
better.
a bit, dude. He looks pretty much the same.
Never
Got,
looked
like
better.
had kind of like a bowl cut senior year almost. Like,
Yeah.
The thing is, like, my hair only grows big. Like, it doesn't get long; it just gets big. I tried to grow it out like in 2020 in COVID when I couldn't get haircuts. Right.
Right.
Yeah, got super bulbous again. I had to cut it off.
Just stacking volume. You love to see it.
Dude, I found your signature to me, and it says, Jim, I'm so glad I met you in Miss Cruz's class because you have grown to be my favorite Egyptian. And that's
Nice.
true, Brandon K.
That's still true. That's still true. Granted, I don't think I've met another Egyptian since we met, but
Still holds up.
that's
The
true.
one and the only, baby.
I have from junior year. I do have another thing from my junior year rather. Yearbook. Tyler with the up and down exclamation marks. You, sir, are one of the most respectable people on earth. You made Spanish class a respectable class to be in. Have a great summer. I'll see you next year. Brandon K. And then I think you wrote like a little black power fist. I don't know if that's you or if that's Mauricio, but I respect it either way. You know, 'cause I'm Tyler from the Congo of Cairo, so I rep everything in the world. I respect it. But yes, we did have Spanish class together, and that was really good time. So.
This is horrible.
And that's why Brandon Kudo is the good man, Brandon Kudo. All right. Very cool guy from our memory, and very excited to catch up with him. T, why don't you kick this off, my brother?
Yep, real quick. So we always kind of ask the guests coming on 1 to 10. How would you rate that Santa Monica High School experience? 1 would be just PTSD to this day. Every single morning you wake up and you're in fear. Versus 10, you're just, on cloud 9 every single day of high school. Where would you kind of rate that experience for you?
I would give it a solid 7. I think for the most part, that's probably the most common answer you get. But
we've got some highs. Like Jesse gave us like a 9 last time. That was insane. But 7's a good one. 7's like
high school is good. Not like the best times of my life, by no means. But I thought it was good. I felt like I've always felt like a little bit of a late bloomer. So like I felt like, I don't know, I was kind of still figuring it out in high school. Still am now these days for sure. I definitely don't have everything figured out, but I don't know, like solid. I had a good time. I can't complain about too much, but 7.
Nice, for sure.
Okay.
It looks like the time, T. It looks like the minute, the hour for the prior segment, the hot seat. You are the second ever to do the hot seat, BK.
Wow. First ever yearbook showing, and second ever. You really put me in for this. But
rules are it's about 5 or 6 questions, and you get 2 passes. So if it gets too hot, pass on that pass. And we'll let you
rock
slide.
over to Jim if it's too hot. But we'll see
All
how this goes. First question of the hot seat, Brandon, is who was your high school crush, and did you ever shoot your shot?
I'm gonna pass on that.
Oh damn, he started with a pass. I like this, man.
Still had the pass immediately.
This is not gonna go well. This is the first question I've already
That's a bold strategy. He's got 1 question, 1 pass, and he's got 5 questions to go.
Love it.
Question 2. Who did you have beef with in high school, or you just didn't have a good vibe around?
Who did I have beef with, and who did I not have a good vibe around? I feel like I didn't have a ton of like really strong beefs. The only time let me preface this by saying that I have never been in a fight before, ever. Still to this day, never gotten in a physical fight, at least for verbal, whatever. But only time the first time I came close was I had PE with Daniel Rakes. I don't know if you know who that is, but so we're playing dodgeball. It was funny in that class. Our teacher kind of gave up like halfway through the year, and we played dodgeball every single day for like that whole year, which is kind of crazy in retrospect. But we were playing that like dilapidated like second gym that we had, and so like there were like roof tiles on the ground and shit. And at one point, I grabbed a roof tile and tried to like throw it at my friend as a joke, and it hit this guy Daniel in the eye, and then he like immediately started trying to fight me. So that happened. And then what's funny is we were playing dodgeball like weeks later, of course, and I was playing and I threw a dodgeball, and of course it hits him when he's not playing, and he tries to fight me again. So I think that was probably the biggest beef I had. Just it was very one-sided. I was super apologetic, but you did not win.
Right.
So.
I like that. That's a good answer, man. That's awesome.
I kind of like that story. That's like hilarious, especially knowing you didn't mean it.
No harm, but I understand why you did not like me.
Right. It's justifiable beef. That's kosher beef right there. That's like grade A kosher beef, right? Question 3 is: did you drink in high school? Why or why not?
I mean, I did. It was just, I don't know, fun. I don't know, especially like it felt like we were cool if you're doing it because we're all underage. So like, I did drink in high school. I feel like I'm a lightweight. Like even now, like I would throw up all the fucking time when I drank in high school, and like in college that got a little bit better, but like I don't know. I'm a puker like easily, and it never stopped me from drinking more. But like
you accept the consequences of your actions, so I respect that. You accept the consequences of drinking. You know you're gonna throw up. You still do it. Understandable. Okay, you are actually officially halfway through the hot seat, Brandon. So good job. Question 4.
6 questions?
6 questions.
Okay.
You have 1 pass left.
1 pass left.
Question 4 is: are you currently north or south of a 6-figure salary?
South. Are you kidding me? South.
Fair enough. Question 5. What was your most embarrassing or awkward high school moment?
Embarrassing or awkward high school moment? I don't know. I think I have to think about that. I'm not like I'm not opposed to answering this. It's just hard to like think of one because there's so many. I don't know. Let's come back to that one. I need to think about that.
We can come back to that. And then we have the last one. Did you have your first kiss in high school? And if so, who was it with? And bonus points if it was with a teacher.
That one I'm going to pass on.
All right, he's passing on that. Let's leave the hot seat there. If the awkward stories come up later, we can come back to it. But he officially survived, Jim.
You survived. Congratulations. If we had some applause, I would play that shit right now. Here's the thing. My high school embarrassing moment, just for reference, is me and Sam Wama were like playing with some radio host that came to Samo was hosting one day, and he had us to do this competition where we were gonna race each other, and we around a baseball diamond, and I literally was like running, and I fell and like ate shit and scraped both of my knees on the radio. By the way, they were calling us like on. They were like laughing about it. And my reconciliation prize, dude, was a Rihanna CD, which I just gave to my sister.
Wait, you don't like Rihanna? What's
I wasn't into her back then, but it was a good album. I think it was Good Girl Gone Bad.
That's actually fucking hilarious. What are you, Tyler?
For me?
Yeah.
Oh, definitely just wrestling in high school. Like, I mean, you're naked practically, you're in a singlet, and you're like, just two dudes rubbing up on each other, and everyone's staring at you. It's a very awkward sport by the nature of it. Yeah, so definitely there were some
Yeah.
awkward high school wrestling moments for sure. But
Well, I
No
feel
one,
like that's
no one
something
can
that
quit, bro.
like it seems like something you would like eventually get over because you have to do it so much, right? Like it's just like I don't know. I feel like that's one that would become like second nature almost. I didn't do it, so I can't speak to it. But
right.
yeah.
Dude,
I was
now
never
team
a limelight guy. I love team sports. I don't know why I decided wrestling, but yeah, I like being kind of in the background and not the center of attention. So
For
that was rough.
Dude, now T strips down and wrestles guys on the weekend.
Right, just life passion. Yeah.
Dude, that's awesome.
Should we take him way
back?
Let's
What
take
was
him
that,
way
Jim?
back. Should we take him
Take
way
him
back?
way back. Wayback Machine.
Shut off the Into Space. Did we like Into Space? It was okay.
It was okay. I don't know. We could do maybe better, but I'm
It's
trying
not
it out for
beating
the hot seat music. We'll see.
Yeah. Way back in June of 2010, BK, you graduated high school, right?
Yep.
Back then, your principal was Dr. Hugo Pedroza.
Yep.
Later fell into some scandals. I still haven't researched it fully, but like he's not a principal anymore.
Wait, I didn't know this. What happened with him?
Just Google his name. Basically, he was a superintendent after being a principal, and then some controversy hit, and then they called for his head. Yeah, crazy, right?
No idea.
Yeah, he sang us a song during our graduation.
I remember that.
The Lakers were playing the Celtics, I think, about to win their I think Kobe's last championship. And you're a young tender, you have a bowl cut, you're chilling and it's hot as hell. I remember we have these gowns on and we had to rehearse 100 times because somebody always fucked it up. And then you finally walk across that stage and they pass you your piece of paper, which is not your degree. And, high school is suddenly over. You may have went to grad night, but if you fell asleep and woke up, that next day, most of us lost contact with each other. And the entire premise of this podcast, me and T on the phone during the pandemic, was to pretty much figure out what happened to our classmates. So we're on this kind of journey together. We both have very positive views of you, but we want to know like what happened from that point where you graduated all the way until you got into this seat. And the floor, my friend, is yours.
Oh my God, my whole life story.
Right.
Well, okay, so let's recount everything. After high school, I went to community college, as you know, Jim. We would see each other sometimes on campus, and I spent 3 years doing that until I eventually transferred to the University of Oregon. And what's funny, I ended up spending 7 years doing my undergrad because I spent a quarter at University of Oregon. I moved into the dorm because I didn't know where to live up here. Moved into the dorm. 1 quarter in, I get called into the office and they say that you can't go here anymore because you don't have a math requirement fulfilled, and so we're kicking you out of school, and we're also kicking you out of the dorm, which is affiliated with the school. So you have to find a new place to live too.
Whoa.
Like 2 months in, and so they kicked me out. I had to find an apartment, and then I went to another community college, like up in Eugene, Oregon, and so spent a couple terms there, and I was able to finish that math requirement and get back into the University of Oregon. What I thought was super funny was so when I moved into the dorm was I'm like a 21-year-old living with a bunch of freshmen, and so I'm just like, you guys are all cool, but I'm probably gonna graduate in like 2 years, so we probably won't get that close. And I ended up spending the entire 4 years for these like freshmen, and like, I was a big part of their college careers, and so I spent 7 years doing that, and then after I graduated, I moved up to Portland because bunch of my friends were moving there. You know, a lot of the people that go to UBO are like from that area, anyways, including my girlfriend. And so moved up there, and yeah, after that, kind of was still trying to figuring out what to do there, and then ended up just like going with the like classic route that a lot of people with no direction go, which is going to a coding boot camp. And so did that, and yeah, did like this like it was like half a year I spent doing that. Eventually they set me up with an internship, and I did 5 weeks at this company, and they eventually hired me on, which is super nice. And so now I work at a place called iVet 360, and I make websites for veterinary hospitals. We're a veterinary marketing firm, just do all that stuff. And yeah, I mean, that's it in a nutshell. That was really broad, obviously. So yeah, I mean, you probably brought on the like least interesting guy you could have brought on. And, like, literally just a guy. I say this a lot. Like it's kind of funny, but yeah, I mean, in a nutshell, that's kind of where the last 14 years have gone. 7 of them were still doing undergrad, and yeah, just moving up to Oregon, and yeah, that's basically it. Like a very condensed version of the last 14 years.
You know, real talk, people come on this podcast and share their story. And I don't know what it is about us millennials, but we feel like we should be like mogul millionaires. And anything less than that is some sort of like failure. And the truth is that none of us are there yet, or very few of us are there yet. And very few of us will obviously reach that kind of status. I mean, it's like ridiculous kind of like way to reach, but
yeah, totally.
You'll be surprised that a lot of people are still finishing school. A lot of people are still, you know, not where they want to be, but on track.
Yeah.
And I think that it's true that you overestimate, you know, what you can do in a year, but you underestimate what you can do in 10, 15, 20 years. And as long as like you're on the path, I feel like there's no issues, you know, with that, or like you shouldn't discount yourself, or, you know, should always think highly of yourself, because it's a tough path. It's a tumultuous path. And that's part of the reason why we started this podcast in the first place.
For sure.
Because me and Tyler, right after like law school for me and right after PT school for T, we faced difficulties going out into the job market and trying to like translate our skills and education out here until we found a niche, you know. And I think that that's true for you too, right, BK?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And you know what's funny is like to speak to that, like I never like I back in high school, I don't feel like I had this idea of like where I was going to be in 10 years, really. Like I felt like I was largely directionless, and so I kind of didn't really know how to visualize that all that well. I was like, how am I ever going to find a job? You know, it's funny is my undergrad degree was for psychology, and well, that was after I tried to transfer using a biology degree. I grew up with my mom telling me that, like, you know, me and my sisters all should be doctors because it makes the most money, and so, you know, the like Asian thing. But yeah, so I was a bio major. I eventually switched to psychology because it was easier to graduate with, and then I was like, I meant like, in order to do anything with psychology, you kind of have to go to grad school, right? And I was like, damn, my grades are not nearly good for this. I spent 7 years doing this. It took me 3 years to transfer. So I was like, yeah, this is you know, off the table. Also, like, can you imagine me as like a therapist or like a psychologist? I'd be like dog shit at that. Like I'm like, I don't take things seriously enough. So like I'd be horrible at that. But yeah, so it's funny to land where I am. I feel like pretty good about like, you know, where I am, where I stand in this world like currently. But yeah, it is definitely like more than I thought I would be like back then, which like I'm not saying like I'm super successful or anything like that, but like yeah, I just really had no idea what the future held, I guess, back then.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. How did you get into? I think it sounds like you're proficient in HTML, or like what coding or software like languages.
So I'm mostly I'm front end only, so everything you can see on a website basically, and it's I have a focus in like CSS and PHP WordPress. So yeah,
Solid.
it's we WordPress used to be like a blogging site, as most people know, but now it's like used all over the internet to manage content essentially in like the form of a blog. So yeah, that's where my focus is. And what's funny is like I didn't even like I didn't even really intend to go like one way or the other. The like boot camp I went to was like they had two options, and it was this one that I did, which is all front end, and the other one had like a Windows logo on it. I was like, I have only Mac devices, so I guess I'll choose this other one. And so like that there was no research that went into it. I just
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I love how much of our life comes down to like little shit like that. It's like, oh, the icon on this is this, and now this is my job because of this
exactly
on my device.
Yeah,
That's
no, totally. Like like everything is just like, for me at least, everything is on vibes alone. Like I don't do like research, and I just like kind of go with whatever. But yeah,
I feel it.
What was the initial push to go to Oregon in the first place? Like what? I guess right after high school brought you out there.
It was one of the easier places to transfer to if you have bad grades. From community college was a big thing, and I like knew a handful of people up there too that were like attending. So I was like, okay, so I'll have like friends up here at the very least if I go. Yeah, I mean, I one of the people I hang out with most is actually someone I knew from middle school, and I don't think I wouldn't think either of you knew him because you both went to jams, right? And,
right.
A friend I had from Lincoln who actually he went to Lincoln, and then instead of going to Samo, his whole family just moved to like the Portland area, and so like we kind of reconnected after that. And it's funny, like he's someone I hang out like with.
Was it Wiley O'Neill? I think
no, but he did go there, and that was definitely went into the factored into my decision. But it was Eric Carr, if you know who that is.
Okay.
Yeah, I figured.
Yeah,
that's cool though.
Yeah.
So is becoming, just like educate me on this a little bit. Is becoming a full stack developer on the table for you, or you have to learn like back end stuff to do that?
Yeah, I mean, it's something I can totally do. I always feel like back end is really just not how my mind works at all. But it's not something that like I've ruled out. It's not my preferred for sure, but I kind of feel like you kind of have to at a certain point to like get certain jobs or make a certain amount of money. So I think it's definitely in my future, but not in the near one, I guess.
Okay. So with a degree in psychology and a skill that you picked up in half a year, one of them is basically the reason for your job right now, and the other one is just a degree. It's respectable. But what do you think of our education system? Because, like, I mean, getting the certification in half a year and being able to like practice that, and that's like your bread and butter. And versus like the time you spent in undergrad, I'm like, man, I'd be pissed,
Yeah, I mean, it's the education system is totally broken, for sure. The fact that we pay so much tuition only for it to like sometimes not even matter, and a lot of people's cases not even matter, right? It's fucked. But yeah, what's funny is that let me first say this, but I'm very lucky that I don't have student debt. My parents were very generous in helping me through that, so I'm super lucky about that, and I feel like I wasted their money in a lot of ways by not using that degree. But one could argue that in a way I did use the degree, because in the interview for the job that I have now, they asked me how I use my psychology background to.
Right.
I put this on my resume that my psychology background really helps me in developing websites somehow, and that was like the second interview I had. The first interview I had before that, they with a different company, they asked me that same question, and I kind of like froze up, didn't know what to say. Told my girlfriend, and she was just like, okay, so what you could say is that people are trained to like look at something on a website, maybe click a certain button, just like Pavlov's dogs are. They're trained to salivate, and at a certain signal, and I used that verbatim, and they really liked it. And I was like, clearly a bunch of bullshit, but yeah, it somehow worked.
Jedi mind tricks. I like that.
Yeah.
The amount of shit I say on a daily basis that's bullshit is like, I mean, that wasn't bullshit. I feel like that was like a good answer,
especially in interviews. That's like you're supposed to be just like 99% bullshit and just beefing yourself up. Like that's the whole point of an interview, right?
It's so just like that was bullshit. I'm not sitting here thinking about Pavlov's dogs every time I make a website, but
right.
It worked, and that's all that matters.
Give some advice for some people for their websites to gain maybe some SEO, or like just help us out. Like the average person watching this who needs to beef up their company website, service website, whatever it is.
That's tough. Just learn how you can score well in, the Google search engine. As you were saying, SEO is where you want to be. You can run your website through certain Google tests. Is this really what you want to hear on this podcast?
Yeah, I want to hear about Pavlov's dogs. Go back to Pavlov. Tell me all your psych background.
You want an SEO TED Talk from someone who's like,
dude, if it's free right now, I want it, dude.
People paying a lot of money for this, Brandon. Give them what they want.
Oh my god, you guys are gonna have to pay me for this. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll throw you some cash after. Jim's a lawyer; he'll give you all the cash.
We'll slide you a little
pro bono lawyer for the rest of your life.
Offer some free services, but you're in Oregon and I'll practice over there, right? So.
What do you want to talk about, Brandon? Let's talk about what Brandon wants to talk about.
Shit, I don't know. I guess like I'm just curious, like how you guys like what started this whole podcast idea, especially if you guys aren't even living in the same state anymore. Like how did you like connect and have this idea for this?
It's all Tyler's fault, so I'm gonna let him answer it.
It is my fault. So we both got out of grad school essentially the same time, around 2020, right? So I went to University of Denver for 4 years, from 2012 to 2016, studying biology. And then I eventually went into physical therapy, so graduate school for physical therapy, and then finished in 2020 from San Diego State is where I graduated. And then Jim, kind of same path. He went to SMC, Irvine, and then law school. And so we both got out. It was peak pandemic, and just job market was insane. We both kind of just jumped to whatever we could for a paycheck, I think, before asking too many questions in the interviews. And early career, just like, second guessing, I guess, a lot of it, right? So I still kept up with Jim from high school. So we kind of jumped on this like weekly call of just like, are you enjoying like law? Or are you enjoying healthcare? Like what's going on? And we're both kind of just like very disillusioned with the whole thing of like getting spit out with X amount of student loans and then being like, well, what the hell was this all worth for, anyway, right? So we kind of bonded over that. And again, 2020, we would have theoretically had the 10-year reunion for Santa Monica High School. So COVID again kind of wrecked that. And eventually our calls were like, we got to do something, right? Like, night walking with Tyler and Jim. Like we're just gonna start recording our walks or something. And then we had this idea of like, oh, we gotta do a podcast or something. I've like routinely started podcasts since, you know, I've had
Really?
one myself of Tyler Talks to Strangers, where I used to just interview random people in Santa Monica at parks or the beach. And then in grad school, I had one with a physical therapy classmate about finances and PT school and all that. So I love podcasts and starting them. And then the idea of, you know, starting another one with Jim, I thought was a great idea. So it kind of came about from all of those things. Then Jim's always been a really big entrepreneurial kind of guy and spirit with that stuff. So he's interested in the business side of things and side hustling and, you know, that kind of stuff. And so I think we kind of wanted to combine this, my fascination with people, right? So like that idea of just being curious about, I think everyone has a story that they you know, would love to share if you ask the right questions, and it's really engaging to me to have that kind of perspective. Maybe I should have been a psychologist. And then and Jim has that really good like background of business and entrepreneurship and hustle culture and that kind of thing. And so this podcast is basically a combination of the two. It's kind of like seeing, you know, kind of scratching the itch of curiosity with old classmates, and then the combination of maybe their business background or what kind of led them and their decisions to getting to where they are now, right? And their career and their, you know, their educational, you know, attainment and that kind of thing too. So that's what kind of sparked this whole thing. Like, you know, me and Jim were kind of saying from the beginning. So we've probably done about 15 or so, 20 interviews, and it's something I want to keep doing. I think it's been really fun, and
It's
you
cool.
kind of learn more about people in a different way. And you know, there are so many relationships we build up in life, and then we just kind of let them fall to the wayside for better or worse. And I think the reconnection of old, you know, friendships is really important too, and it's something that kind of keeps us all grounded, because people have known us since we were awkward, you know, middle school, high schoolers, right? So I think those relationships are very important to me, and I want to kind of cherish that going forward as well. So
what's like, has there been like a like, I don't know, common thread among the like people that you've interviewed? Like, what's a common stance that people have had, or like common, I don't know, like,
so
what do you
this
think,
is
Jim?
the basic layout of like our classmates is this: they graduate high school, they go to some college, probably in a different state, most of them. Some of them went to community college or whatever, and then they're like, wait a second, what the hell do I have to do? Like, what do I want to do? Like, and then they start chasing things that are like in front of them, like, oh, maybe I should just major in this, and that'll get me to here. Most, like, I would say about half the people change their major who have come on this podcast because they're like, I don't really want to go down this path. I want to go down this one. And they keep like chasing it until they find something that finally is kind of like a light bulb. And for you, that would be, you know, what you're doing with websites, designing them. But for others, it's been a number of things, from engineering to teaching to law school to whatever it is that they're doing. And then they finally find that light, and then they chase it, and they think, and here's, I think, what the common issue is, and that a lot of people have, they think that those years are lost. They think that they wasted their time. They feel like they, you know, but really it's just chasing the path. Like, it's like going down this path and finally finding something, which is contrary to what we're taught in school. It's like, okay, you graduate, hopefully you know what you want to do, doctor, lawyer, engineer, whatever. Go finish school, go finish grad school, go start your career, go buy a house, go get married, and then, you know, pass it on to the next generation. Like, that's the ideal productivity model. But what we find people coming on here are saying is that, well, when I graduated, I didn't know what I wanted to do, and then I chased this, and that didn't work, and then I moved here, and then I found this, and I'm married to this person now, and, you know, I'm still in school, still trying to figure it out, and you know, it finally sticks. But part of the issue is that when me and T graduated, like he was saying, is like, fine, we did it, we chased down this path, we try to do it in the quickest way possible, and all these things. Me and T both had some lost years where we were trying to, like, you know, figure something out too. But what we found out in the end is that, you know, what we want to do is actually like have people consider career options back when we were in high school. And it's a tough thing to try to imprint in a high schooler's head, because they don't really anticipate what's going to come. Like, you know what I mean? Life happens quick, and a lot of things happen. Uh, so it's you know, it's the wild wild west when you graduate high school.
Mhm.
And that's the common thread and theme that we've seen amongst our
Mhm.
peers. But it seems like in their 30s now, they're starting to figure it out, starting to
Yeah.
flourish, starting to grow financially. And
Mhm.
I think that's the good thing. I think it really does take that 10, 12, 13-year gap to
Mhm.
figure it out. And I think that
Yeah,
that's what this podcast is actually proving.
for sure.
I
Yeah.
agree. I think I feel like the 20s is it's a huge decade in just in terms of growth because I think
Mhm.
the way you start and end that decade, you're a completely different person. I feel like in a lot of ways I was just a professional student, right? Because you're in
Mhm.
undergrad for 4 years and then grad school for 3 years. And
Yeah.
so I really, really related to something you said, Brandon, when you're like, I felt like I wasted my parents' money in a way, right? So my parents paid for my undergrad, right?
Yeah.
So they paid for this biology degree. And I was like, you can't really, even with biology, you can't really necessarily just do like if you want to be
Yeah.
a biologist, you need to be a PhD, you know? So
Yeah.
like I had this idea of like I can't just stop now. Like so I kind of felt pushed into grad school a little bit of like,
Yeah.
well, this could be like the pre-med, pre-PT,
Totally.
pre-healthcare something with biology. So then I
In
kind
a
of
way, I
pushed
think
myself.
grad school, like, for a lot of people, is just, like,
Yeah.
kinda kicking the can down the road, just like, "Okay, I
Right.
don't actually know what, like, I wanna do, so let's just do more school," right?
Do more
Yeah.
school. And so I kind of just did more school. And then I'm so good at just like seeing a deadline and achieving the
Mhm.
deadline, whatever you put in front of me. But then like I didn't stop enough to realize if I even wanted to pursue that deadline
Yeah.
or that goal in the first place. Like, right. So I feel like I did thrust myself into grad school based on feeling like I didn't want to just waste my parents' undergrad money that they spent on that.
Yeah.
So I kind of just kept going to the next thing. Right. And so
Yeah.
then when I did finish grad school and there was no more deadline, it was like,
Yeah.
now you just have a paycheck and what are you
Yeah.
exactly working towards? I had this kind of like, dark night of the
Mhm.
soul. And I was like calling Jim, like, I don't know what the fuck's going on
Yeah.
anymore, right? There's no
Yeah.
more deadlines to chase. Like I'm done, you know?
Yeah.
So that was a lot harder to process. But I definitely empathize with what you said there, based on my parents being gracious enough,
Yeah.
to pay for the school. I felt like I had to continue that train. So,
Totally. Yeah, I
yeah.
think the hardest part, like, as a high schooler is, like, you just don't know, like, what jobs exist too. Like, when
Yeah.
I was, like,
Exactly.
17, I was like, "Okay, you could be a doctor or a lawyer because that's
Right.
what my parents both are, or you could be, like, a policeman or a fireman," and just, like,
Yeah.
there's, like, so many jobs that you just don't know exist too. Like, I don't know,
Yeah.
it's so, like, crazy. But,
That's
like,
true.
back in high school, I didn't know what an account manager was. Like, what the fuck is that?
Right.
Like,
Exactly, dude.
yeah.
And
And I something that I've, like, totally realized, like, I totally envy people who are, like, I don't know, just, like, career oriented, have a dream job, that's something that I respect, but, like, ultimately cannot relate to. For me, like, having a job or career is just, like, means to an end. Like, I don't think I have a dream job as of now. It's just, like, you need this to
Mm.
survive, right? And that's kinda how I see it, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like
That's
a lot of
another
people
way to
relate.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like,
Yeah.
you know, and I feel like, so let's just say that your passion is playing video games, uh, you know, just for fun. There's people who have
Mhm.
turned it into a profession, you know.
Totally.
Let's just say
Totally.
like you like drawing pictures. Like there's a guy
Mhm.
on the NYC subways that like draws people's
Oh,
pictures
yeah.
on TikTok. Each one of
Totally.
his videos has like millions of views. This guy makes like $2,000-$3,000 a video on
Damn.
TikTok, and it's crazy. And he
That
really
is.
makes people's days. Like he draws them in like 60 seconds to like
Mhm.
I think actually it takes him
Mhm.
like 3 to 5 minutes maybe. And then he at the end of the video like he reveals it to them, like he'll give it to
Mhm.
them, and like their reaction is like so like
Mhm.
emotional. You know what I mean? I'm like,
Yeah.
damn, man, like this guy,
Yeah.
he likes to draw
Mhm.
pictures for a living.
I
And
think
back, yeah,
we kind of bridge this gap. Like millennial generation is kind of bridging this gap of like jobs used to be jobs, and now
Mhm.
like attention is a job. Literally anything can be a job if you have enough
Yeah.
viewers
currency.
and like
Yeah.
audience, like because of
Yeah.
YouTube and because of subscribers. Like
Totally.
literally anything can be a job now. And so like jobs used to be just like go to the factory, like our
Mhm.
grandparents and parents' generation, whatever. But now, and especially for Gen Z, like anything is a job, and I don't understand. Like showing your feet on OnlyFans is a job, you know. So like,
I'd be lying if I said I didn't
blows my
consider
mind,
that.
you know,
Like,
like
yes, I
possibilities.
could post pictures of feet online for money and people will pay me for it.
Right.
I've 100% thought of that, but I don't know. No one wants to see these dogs, so
I want to see the bowl cut. I mean, if you had an OnlyFans with the bowl cut, I would
no.
for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not happening. It would just be too pathetic between yeah, people wouldn't want to see my feet or my tiny dick. So
Yeah, I forgot that BK was really funny, dude.
Yeah, BK is a real one. BK is a real one. He always was. Oh man, like, are you like your family, like your siblings or your dad? Like, who do you get your personality from? Do you think, BK? Are you more like your mom, your dad, or like where does your sense of personality come from?
I think me and my younger sister are pretty similar in a lot of ways. I think we have a lot of the same humor.
Yeah.
Both my parents, I don't know. My dad is very like straight laced and like just I don't know normal. I guess my mom is insane, and I think like some of that rubbed off on me. I guess yeah, she's funny. She's totally insane, and we've had a lot of disputes over the years, but I think we're like fine now. Yeah, I would say like a little bit of my manicness definitely comes from her for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dude, let's
What's
talk
the
a little bit.
nature of the debates with your family? Is it like finances or like?
For my mom, it always is. Yeah, it's her entire family somehow she thinks is like trying to steal from her, and so she is like she she's like 6 brothers and sisters, and like she's like not on good terms with any of them because she thinks they're all trying to steal from her. I don't have that, and I feel like her attitude towards money in general has kind of made me like not like I don't know. Money is not everything to me. I think obviously like you can't avoid like it being a necessity, obviously, but it's not something that I like really chase all that hard. I guess I probably should more, but yeah, that's always the crux. And she yeah, it's a whole thing. There's so much, and it's not just like the money thing. She has like I don't know, she has other issues. I think her like just her split from my dad when we were young had like a big effect on herself and her like view of like men in general. So I think she kind of like always had like I don't know this weird thing with me and my dad and like kind of seeing us as like similar entities. So there's that. It's a whole thing.
I mean, with that many siblings, statistically, one of them probably is stealing from her. I mean, let's be real. I mean, there's a lot of siblings.
Sure. With those odds, sure.
With those odds, it's true.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about the artwork that you got in the back there. I see MF Doom, right?
Dude, MF Doom, respect. Mad Villainy. Oh, look at that shit. Yeah.
Who else do we got over there?
What's the backstory of those?
Honestly, like there's no backstory aside from like me liking these albums and more so liking the artwork on them than like liking the albums. I do listen to these, but like it takes like me I have to like them visually for me to buy an album for sure. So yeah, we got a couple ones up here. I have I have the Pokemon Gold and Silver soundtrack on vinyl over there. That's a funny one.
Ooh, that's wild. On vinyl? Yeah. That's insane. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know they had it, so I had to have it. But yeah. Yeah. I haven't changed these in years either.
Yeah.
Once they're on the wall, I'm just too lazy to take them down,
That's right.
I get it. Let's get into our set segments, T.
Yep. Sounds good.
What's your first memory of Brandon Kudo or your best memory?
Man. That's tough, man. Specific. I mean, we had Spanish class together, so I'm sure we were partners, and various projects throughout the class. But Man, I mean, if I think of anything from Brandon, it's just definitely the smile. That's the first thing that comes. Just this ginormous smile he always had. He's the most.
I won best smile in high school, lest you
Senior.
forget.
Yeah, I remember that.
Like the
Yeah,
yearbook.
he is
Yeah,
in the
I'll
yearbook.
pull out the yearbook in a second. Shit.
Yeah, our last two guests, so Jesse Alvarez had best eyes, and then Brandon
Oh,
had
he
best
deserves them.
smile.
Deserves them.
Yeah.
Damn.
So this is kind of legendary. We're getting on all the attractive people from high school, I guess, Jim. So
Yeah.
I do remember the smile. Obviously Spanish, and everyone kind of got along with Brandon. I think very few enemies. You know, he was always just a very well put together guy, and made you kind of feel good and feel important when you walked into the room. And he was not a very big, like, you know, this is my clique and I'm gonna protect it. You know, Brandon would just definitely bring everybody in and have a good time with
Yeah,
everybody.
definitely.
So those are the
I
main
feel like
like personality traits I remember.
I feel like I'm so someone that like, and I might be wrong about this, that I feel like I was someone who just like faded into the background, like totally. Like I was not like a relevant figure in high school. And I even more so feel that like I'm one of those guys that like everyone kind of like forgot existed from high school, because I'm not like, I have social media profiles, but I'm not like that prolific on them. I don't
Okay.
post like all that much. So like I feel like I'm one of those guys, and I might be wrong about that, but
Right.
yeah, I feel like I am just like a forgotten person. Or so I appreciate that you're saying all these nice things about me. I am
Right.
skeptical.
Well, I definitely remember you. I'm glad we have you on the show now, just because you did make an impression. I remember that for sure. So you were not completely in the background from my recollection. What do you remember, Jim?
BK used to hang around Arion,
Yep.
Anthony Garcia,
Mhm.
and I just had a good time with you guys. I don't know, you guys were really funny, and
Yeah.
you guys had this like kind of like a unique sense of humor, and I kind of fit into that too. Like I was
Yeah.
like a similar joke that we'd have.
I'll never forget with you, Jim. I was also friends with Devin Garrity, and like a bit that we had was like you and him would always say to each other, "You're a legend," like just like repeatedly to each other, like just posting each other's
You're
Facebook walls.
allowed.
I thought that was so funny.
We had a
That
lot
is
of jokes.
legit.
It was me, Devin, and Chris Kim in a class.
Chris
Amy
Kim,
Bisson.
bro. I remember him.
If I can find him, dude, I want to bring him on here so bad.
He seems he'll be hard to get. I haven't heard from
I've
that
not
guy.
seen him.
Is
Yeah,
he
it's
more
so long.
elusive than Julian Honore? Are you
Let's
serious?
I would think so. Like, I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like if you really asked Julian, he would do it. It's just a matter of like,
Right.
I don't know. I was almost
Challenge
like, you should
accepted.
come on with me, dude. But
Yeah.
he didn't want to.
Challenge accepted. We're gonna
We
get
can
all
get
these
him
people.
on. Like we're pretty friendly. Like we're not gonna,
I'll
Yeah.
take you on.
We'll
But
find
yeah,
a way.
me and Devin had a bunch of inside jokes that
Yeah.
were just from that class, and
Yeah,
you're a legend is one of them.
Yeah, I still like sometimes talk to Anthony and Ariane, definitely like sparingly, but they're still like
Right.
definitely in the peripheral. I mean, Ariane like tours now. Like he came to Portland.
Yeah, dude.
Portland, and we went to go
Wow.
see him. That was cool.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
We'll get him on too. I haven't asked him yet, but I'll get him on.
Yeah.
For sure.
Be a lot of fun. I'm trying to get Devin on too. That reminds me.
I don't know what he's up to at all. He also seems like it'd be elusive.
Yeah, a lot of guys we did. That's the problem with this podcast is at least like half of our classmates are elusive, or like we just can't get into good contact with.
Yeah, totally.
So I mean, we'll see if that changes, but what it is what it is.
Had there been a 2020 reunion, would you have went, Brandon? Do you think?
I've thought about this a lot, and I probably not. Like, it's like, I mean, there's the first thing of like me not being in town, right? It makes it just like that little barrier of entry is enough. And then like, I talked to like how I really don't talk to that many people from high school anymore. It's basically just Julian, who, even though he lives in town, would not go. There's no shot. So Yeah, I probably wouldn't, but
Yeah.
I do like to like follow these things. I do find myself like if I remember someone that I hadn't from high school that I hadn't thought about in a while, I definitely like cyberstalk them. I'm just like,
Yeah.
what are they up to these days? I do that like whenever someone pops in my head, and so yeah, I like keep tabs on it, kind of, but yeah, I definitely wouldn't have gone. Would you guys have? Jim, are you
I
still
was
in
in
town?
LA, so I would have went. I
Still in
think.
town. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm still around. I'd go. I'd go.
Mhm.
There's a lot of people I didn't like though. I'm not gonna lie.
Right.
I didn't know you had
I
so
would
many
have just.
enemies.
I want to just like dunk on a couple people and then I'll be good. Like just one or two. That'd be fine. But
I'm pretty sure me and
yeah.
Tyler would jump somebody. I don't know. I don't know who the unlucky person would be.
We just start
It sounds like
murdering
we would.
people at our 10-year high school reunion. We're convicts now. Like that'd be amazing.
Yeah, you guys have changed. I came on this
Changed a lot.
podcast. I was like, oh, they were so nice, and here I am, like saying, oh, you guys would have fought someone at the
Stabbing someone
reunion. I was
in
like,
the
yeah,
bathroom.
they've changed.
I think it would just bring back memories, seeing some people's
Mhm.
faces. Just
For
wonder if
sure.
they're still like that.
Yeah, that's wild. No, I really didn't have any enemies or anything, fortunately. But
Mhm.
yeah, it was. I probably would have went mostly because I was in Los Angeles at the time. But
Yeah.
I actually worked at Bob's Farmers Market off of was it Ocean Park during the
Mhm.
pandemic because that was like the only business that was open, and so I
No.
started doing like curbside deliveries, and so I did see
Uh-huh.
like Connor Vance and
Oh,
Lucy
really?
Kano and just like random people from Samo like coming into the farmers market to shop, and so that was kind of interesting to see
Mhm.
some people from Samo in that job, but it wasn't a proper reunion or anything.
Mhm.
If there's a
That's
2030, me and Jim are trying to set that up maybe one day, so we'll go to the 2030, the 20 year if there is one, but other than that, I don't
6
know.
years from now, man. That's only 6 years like away.
That
That's
is
so
crazy
weird.
to
We're
think
so
about.
old.
I can't even imagine the 20. That's so crazy.
We're so old, dude.
20-year
Yeah.
reunion is in 6 years. I can't. I feel like
Right.
I'm like still a high schooler. Like I feel like, yeah, I feel like I could pass as a 17-year-old easily.
I agree. You look pretty young, BK.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Have you thought of the whole kids thing? Do you want to have a family one day? What's your take on that?
I think like eventually I'm definitely in no rush, and I definitely don't think I am responsible enough currently. I am not like yeah, just definitely not ready to make that sacrifice yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I was just talking about how I feel like a 17-year-old. There's no way I could have kids. Yeah.
Hey, some 17-year-olds have kids, you know.
That's true. Wamba had like
It's
7
bad
kids.
idea.
Yeah, Sam Wamba did have a lot of kids.
What is he up to these days? I haven't heard his name in a long time.
I think he's working, as far as I know, like rehousing homeless people in LA.
Yeah, he's like at a
broadly speaking.
nonprofit. He has like
Yeah.
4 kids, and he works at a nonprofit pretty much.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Good for him.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's solid. He's solid. But let's see, what other segment was that? It should we do the feeding the ducks, Jim? Is it time for the old lightning round?
It's time for feeding the ducks.
Yo, feed those ducks, Jim. Let's go. Turn that shit up. Okay. So yes, we always end with the lightning round too. This is much more relaxed than the hot seat. So it's just
Yeah, you're out of the hot seat. You have no
My heart's beating already, so we'll see.
That's right. Again, 6 questions. These are more lighthearted. Just kind of, do whatever you want with these. First one is going to be best off-campus lunch spot.
Ooh, best off-campus lunch spot. I'm going to say it was Taqueria Chihuahua, which no longer. Do you remember that place?
Hell yeah!
Right,
you know what? I actually learned it from you and Arion and Anthony. Yep. Like you guys would go in the morning. Sometimes
we would go all the time, and it no longer exists anymore, at least in that area. But that was so good. We'd go so much.
The breakfast.
Shout out to Swingers, who rest in peace. We'd go there all the time.
I remember that place. Yeah, the blue and the tile. I remember that place. I never went inside, but I do remember the vibe there.
Yeah, it was
we'd go there like every weekend because they were open late. We'd go at like 2 a.m. and like I don't even know like why we would do this every time. We'd like fall asleep afterwards, but yeah, that was our spot for sure.
Nice. Question 2: the hardest class you took in high school?
Ooh, that's tough because I failed multiple classes in high school and it's the community college. So, yeah,
They're all like,
I don't know. There was not the class that we had together, not the Spanish class, but there was a different Spanish teacher that was really hard. I forget what her name was, but that was hard. There was, you know what it was? Hands down was AP US History. That shit sucked. I fucking hated that class.
Who'd you have?
yeah.
Mr. Alvarado.
Okay. I had Mr.
Flanders.
What was his name?
We had
Flanders
Flanders
for half, and then I had Alvarado for like the second half or something.
Dude, they
and,
split me into a different. They split me into a different Flanders class. I remember that, dude.
yeah,
we had Flanders
class
like,
got messed
together,
up.
and then dude, I wish I had him. That would have been better.
Alvarado was hard. That dude, yeah, he was insane.
Dude,
I remember that.
That class I like definitely failed. that was so hard, and like to rub salt in the wound, it was like I was friends with Mr. Alvarado on Facebook, and like 2016 he became like a MAGA guy too. Like it was like weird. Like, and he was always very clear that he was Republican, but like
Oh yeah,
I don't know.
huge Reagan guy, Reaganomics. He loved Ronald Reagan.
He had a
too.
bush cut out too, didn't he? Like in his classroom, yeah.
He'll probably run for office at some point, so it's fine.
Please
We'll
no.
see. Please no. Question 3: which year of high school would you most like to relive if you could wake up tomorrow in any grade?
That's tough. I felt like I would probably redo one of freshman or sophomore year because I feel like I didn't find my like close friends until like junior or senior year, and so like I probably would like picked it with them earlier if I knew,
That checks out. Okay. Question 4. This gets a lot of people. Best restroom to take a dump on campus.
Okay, you know what's so funny is a lot of people are shy about their poos, and I will say I am not. I am a lifelong IBS haver, and so it's just something I have to deal with, and so I'll go wherever. It's no difference to me. I'll go wherever. Like,
okay, you've been through them all. That's right.
I am not embarrassed about my pooing. I'll say that much, and so I would go literally anywhere.
Nice.
Me and T don't shit unless Feeding the Ducks is playing.
That's true. We gotta have our soundtrack on.
If it's not playing, I can't go.
Going out every time you get to the bathroom. Like,
Yeah,
I need this.
Question 5: who was the hottest teacher at Samo?
Hottest teacher. I don't even know. I feel like I didn't have any hot teachers. Like, it's such a like trope that I like never really identified with. But
right.
I want to say like, Miss Fairchild.
Dude, yeah, that's mine.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
She's more like cute than attract. Like, you know what I mean? But yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know. I felt like, yeah, she was like, there just isn't like a lot of competition in that school. I will say, like, I didn't mind like I've never been like a MILFs or like hot teachers guy. Like, she was good looking.
That should be the hot seat question, Jim. Like, what's your last porn search? That would be a good one. Last keywords you type.
I'm not in the hot seat anymore. Well, you guys came up with that.
Yeah. Well, you're like, you passed the hot seat. That's for the next guest. Yeah, we'll bring him on with that.
Seriously.
We're adding that one.
Well, I'm not enough first for that one.
Is what song from our high school era is still on your playlist today?
That's a tough one.
That's throwback.
You know what song I truly love is song "Replay" by Ayaz. That song fucking slaps. And then was it? There's like, I am someone who like listens to music like from way back when, like all the time. So there's a lot of stuff from like even before high school that I still listen to. A lot of like, I don't know, old rap and pop songs still. So that one, you know, what's also really good from when we were in high school is Like a G6 is such a banger. That song is
It's so good. Yeah, it's on my workout playlist for sure.
Yeah, 3-6 Mafia, like those are a couple of good ones I still remember. Me and Jim wanted to make "Tonight's Gonna Be a Good Night" by the Black Eyed Peas, like our theme song to this whole podcast.
That's a good one.
Thinking about it, we need to do something like that.
Oh, you know what I listen to like a ton of like this is probably the definitive answer for me. It's Fergalicious. Fergalicious is the one. Like that one's so good.
The one. Well, before Jim gives you the final floor to do your plugs or any advice to high school students or anything else you want to say, I do want to add another question. This is going to be for the next guest, which you don't know is going to be that we're going to be interviewing. What's one question you think we should ask them, or what's one thing you're curious about for your fellow Samo High classmates that we should ask?
That's tough. I guess what should we ask our classmates? What did you think of Brandon Kudo back then?
I like that. It's very meta. It's very meta.
You know? I'm someone who definitely is not clear on what people think of me all the time. So that would be my question for sure.
I like that. Very cool. All right, Jim, hit him with the final.
All right. If anyone thinks badly about Brandon Kudo, eat a dick. Honestly, like
those are the people me and Jim are gonna stab at the reunion bathroom. You know,
good. I love that. Thank you.
Just off that. I literally, that'd be an odd person to not like. So we give you the final word on this podcast to plug anything you want, to say anything you want. A final message to your classmates. It could be inspiring, could be a complete joke. People have said some interesting things during the segment, but the floor is yours. I'm going to play Feeding the Ducks on super low.
Okay.
While you do it. And go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, for my fellow classmates, hope everyone's doing well. I mean, high school at the end of the day doesn't matter. Your college degree doesn't matter. So, I think all of us have kind of experienced that in ways we've talked about in this little chat. But I mean, just keep on trucking. I don't know. I am not someone who is like qualified to give anyone any life advice. But that's all I've got. Time is money. Time is money.
Time is hard. For sure, time is money.
Time is money. Hard, nihilistic. Nothing matters. I like it. That's just great. This is what we leave the audience with. This is awesome.
Yeah. Very, very simplistic and riveting at the same time. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Quotable. For sure. Quotable.
Quotable is fun. All right. That's the Alumni Podcast. Hope you love this episode. Give us a like, give us a follow, give us a subscribe, support us on social media. We really need it. We're trying to launch. Just share with your friends too. I mean, we're really the first type of podcast that brings on their old classmates to come give you some wisdom, give you some inspiration, and let you know that it's okay to live your life and go through the motions. And there's not one straight path for anybody. So follow, or T will find you in a bathroom and literally just beat the hell out of you into a pulp. Unless he,
I used to wrestle. I will find you and wear a singlet at the same time.
He's gonna wear a singlet and find you and attack you. And if he can't, and he gets his ass beat, he's not allowed on this podcast anymore. So he's really gonna fight hard. Okay. Just FYI. All right.
Brandon, thanks for being on. I appreciate you, brother.
Thank you. Good to catch
You're a
up with
legend. You know what? You're a legend. That's
You
awesome.
are a
Wow.
legend.
Thank
And
you.
I'm not, and I'm not just saying that because me and Dev used to say that, but you know,
Right.
you are
We
a
actually
legend.
mean it this time.
And this time. Okay. Well, good to know, I
I
guess.
probably meant it every single time I said it, but like, let's just go. All right, guys.